Welcome back to the Ekklesia Project. I'm a freedman of God as your host on this journey to discover the lost Ekklesia of God. This is episode 12, and hopefully on this episode we will finally finish our time in Revelation, chapters 1 through 3. And by the way, it's not as though we've torn these three chapters apart. We have looked at quite a bit, but usually when I go through a passage, I'm going to go through it line by line, and I really haven't done that in these chapters. But that's okay, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to get sort of like the big picture. We're trying to kind of like, this is the course we're going to go through. We're kind of charting a course. There's a lot more detail that will be covered as we go through the letters of Paul. But for now, we're trying to just kind of prepare ourselves for the journey, in essence. I know it sounds like a lot of preparation, 12 videos, 12 episodes, right? But, and I've said this before, it's what we're going to be talking about is a completely different perspective on the gathering of New Covenant believers. You don't just switch perspectives overnight. Especially this type of switch. It's quite a radical switch, and that's why I'm trying to kind of prepare those that have gone this far, because anyone that's gone this far in the series is probably very interested in this question. I can't imagine anyone going this far that's completely wed to the church system and will not entertain any other ideas or options or perspectives. So I imagine that if you've come this far, your heart is open, your mind is open. You want to hear what can be discovered in the letters. And you may have had some feelings of a disconnection, which is actually a good sign, between what the scriptures talk about and what the church system delivers. And so you might already have those kind of questions, those lingering questions. You're just not sure how to articulate your questions or how to go about investigating those questions. So I think that this journey will certainly give you a lot to think about, will certainly give you a lot to ponder, and I think will go a long way in helping you to discover the answers yourself and come to some conclusions. And I've tried on almost every episode to encourage those listening to become familiar with the tools, the interlinear Bible, to pick up some text. Oh, I guess, I should, maybe I can give you, this is a text. I don't even know if this comes out. It comes out backwards. I'm not sure. But it's a book by David Allen Black. It's called Learn to Read New Testament Greek. This is something I got. Black is supposed to be pretty good as far as, introduction to Greek. There's another author, I forgot his name, that's also touted to be pretty good. But you can do some research on that. But you can see, I think you'll run across Black, and I think you'll run across another author. And I think I got his book somewhere. I just don't know. I don't have it handy. And there's, like I said, there's online courses. I got a free online course to learn, again, these are like the introductions to Greek. These are like the just to give you a feel, an idea about how, the prepositions and nouns and adjectives and verbs, and understand the cases, all the grammatical, things that go on in Greek. Those are all things that you kind of need as kind of a foundation. But you don't have to learn all the endings. I was going to start doing that, and I started realizing that when I looked at the Interlinear Bible that they did it for me, and I'm okay with that. So I don't think they're trying to trick me in the Interlinear Bible. I think that, and I use Bible Hub, as you know. So I let other people, if they help me, if they can help me do some shortcuts in working with the Greek, I'll certainly take it. And that's what I do. That's the way I approach it. I'll take advantage of what God makes available, and I'll take advantage of that to try to get down to studying the Scripture as quickly as I can. It took me about 6 months, I think, of just going over the books and the courses, and I did some flashcards, I mean, it could take less if you really streamlined it, and then getting familiar with the tools, discovering the tools, and I already had a Bible software. I think you kind of need a Bible software program to help you, get a lot of the translations, the good ones. I look at, I think I've told you this before, New American Standard, English Standard Version, the Darby, what's it called? The Darby something, New Translation. I think maybe that's what it's called. Darby New Translation, which is pretty good. I look at the Holman Christian Standard, mainly for the cross-referencing. Sometimes there's some good tools. They'll tell you different manuscripts will say this, and that's always helpful. The Young's Literal Translation, I use the King James Version only because of the concordance that's attached with it, that sometimes it's quicker. It's quicker to do just to go to the concordance. It's just a link system that makes it easier for me in my software. And then I have a couple of word studies, and then I look at the Interlinear Bible, and I've got lots of commentaries if I'm interested. I honestly don't refer to the commentaries too often. I'm not to say that you shouldn't, or but if I'm stuck, if I'm just like, I'm out of ideas, I just don't know where to go, nothing makes sense, I'll look at the commentaries to see what they have to say. But I always have in mind that anything that has to do with Ekklesia is going to be twisted a little bit by those that are involved in the church system. Not intentionally, they just have a certain perspective that I just don't have when it comes to the gathering. And I'm not sure they really think it through themselves independently, because I really don't see, and I'm not saying there isn't some good work defending the church system. I've never seen it. And anytime I talk to a pastor or something like that about it, they never have this book here will explain it all. They never refer to anything like that. It just seems to be a tradition that just kind of has been growing and adopted generation after generation. So, and then when I look at Scripture itself, I just can't see anyone, defending it by just through Scripture. So anyway, let's get to, I want to go back to Luke 12. And I on the last episode, I was kind of like going back and forth on this and what it meant. And and I've got more thoughts on it. I thought about it some more, and you know, and this is how it works. You know, you're not totally satisfied, and not only that, but you'll get new information. I mean, sometimes as you go along, you'll get new information and go, let me go back and rethink what I kind of concluded in the last passage because of this new information, and that might shed some different light on it. I haven't gone through the Gospels like I want to. I want to go through the Gospels, just comb through the Gospels, and I will, but I wanted to start doing these videos before I went through all because it's going to take me some time to tear apart the Gospels. That could take quite a while. So instead of waiting until everything was completely finished, I felt I needed to get out and start talking, because it's not just about my opinion anyway. It's about the idea that, hey, listen to what this different idea, this different perspective, this different approach, and I have vetted this perspective through all the letters of Paul, who was the master builder of the Ekklesia. So I feel confident that there's a lot of merit to it, and the Gospels, of course, they're a little bit more opaque sometimes in the way to see it, and Paul is going to be more transparent in how things should be done, or how things should be explained. And a lot of times you'll read Paul, and then you'll begin to understand what Jesus is talking about in the Gospels. So, there's that dynamic also. But I do want to continue. It's not like I haven't gone through any of it, but I want to continue to be more thorough in my study of the Gospels and Acts. And just to kind of look at it a little harder. But I felt like the majority, where the real solid information is, the treasure trove type of thing with regard to Ekklesia, is with Paul and how he explains it and how he sets it out, because that was his jam. That's what he did. I mean, he was the master builder. He was the guy. He dedicated his life, and I don't think it's an accident that, as far as epistles are concerned, he's going to take up the lion's share. I mean, the rest of it. I mean, people say, "Oh, Luke wrote much of the Scripture." Well, that's true, but it's more of an account. He wrote Acts, and that's just accounting. Just trying to track how things were going in the early stages, and what was happening, and that's all great, but you're not going to get a lot of explanation of why things are going on the way it's going on, and get some real solid scriptural understanding. It's more about, does Luke, when he talks about these things, does that match how you understand what the Ekklesia is to be, or how, biblical truth? So that's why, they say Luke wrote the gospel and wrote Acts, and so he makes up well, yes, but again, he's doing more of a historian, right? He's giving more about what happened, and of course he's picking and choosing which events he's going to write about, but so he's making decisions in that regard, but he's not really giving some sort of exegetical explanation or support or analysis about biblical truth necessarily. So in any event, so let's go back to Luke. Let's go back to Luke 12, and let's talk about when we were talking before about this this passage here in oh, wait a minute, forgot. I got to. All right. So when we were talking before about this passage here in verse 35, be dressed in readiness and keep your lamps lit. Be like men who are waiting for the master when he return from the wedding feast. So they immediately open the door to him when he comes and knocks. And I thought that might have to do with those that have yet to be in an ekklesia, and was waiting for the call to go to be invited to an ekklesia. I don't know if that's the best way to understand it, only because it seems like and we're going to get to the other two, but it seems like each one of these, little snippets, have to do with an ekklesia that's already been formed. And, before that, he talked about seeking the kingdom of God. And remember, he's talking to a group of disciples, and seek the kingdom of God. Don't worry about the worldly issues about feeding yourself, financial security, finding a home, getting some clothes. Don't worry about all that. What you need to be doing is seeking the kingdom of God first. And my point was that seeking the kingdom of God is really seeking an ekklesia of God, is seeking that people of God type of situation. And he talked in 33, sell your possessions, give to charity, make yourselves money belts which do not wear out, and an unfailing treasure in heaven. And these are really important concepts because, and we're going to see this as we go through some of these parables, but he's basically saying, use your time wisely while you're on the earth. This is what I mean by live for the hereafter. That's what this is about, is living for the hereafter. This is not waiting for the hereafter right here. Okay? You're not waiting for the hereafter by selling your possessions, giving to charity, make yourself money belts which do not wear out. Unfailing treasure in heaven. You're collecting treasure now. Okay? You're not waiting for the hereafter. You're living for the hereafter. You're collecting your treasure right now, heavenly treasure, so, because where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And that's kind of an important point. We're going to see that in these parables coming up. But anyway, you can see how this is all preparation. These are things that you need to do before you get to an ekklesia. These are things you have to understand, accept, adopt, embrace before you get to an ekklesia, before you can be a contributing, a healthy contributing member to an ekklesia of God. You have to have this perspective already. Okay, this is where you have to be. Okay, so I think it might be a better idea in verse 35 through 38 to look at that passage as an ekklesia that's already taken place, because it says, be like men who are waiting for their master. See, they already know who their master is. They are waiting for their master to come, and while they're waiting, he's telling them, be dressed in readiness, keep your lamps lit. Now, all of that is very directly related to what we were talking about before, about having a lampstand in the presence of Christ, and keeping those lamps lit, and always being awake, being ready. Okay. Now, just to kind of emphasize what I'm talking about here. Well, I went too far. Let's go to Revelation 2, and I want to show you something. And I didn't really emphasize this the first time, but notice in Revelation 2, you see this on verse 5 here, where he says, I am coming to you. Okay. And this idea of Jesus coming to the ekklesia is stated over and over, where, we think that, wait a minute, he's coming. We always think of the second coming. his return. But notice how he uses this language while you're in an ecclesia. Well, here's an ecclesia in Ephesus that obviously was not, Jesus did not return while the ecclesia was still going on. And he says, I am coming to you. In other words, be ready. There's something, there's a judgment, there's an assessment that's coming. An assessment, a final assessment, a judgment about the ecclesia. And so be careful, because this assessment is important, and it can come at any time. That's why you have to be awake and ready at any time. This assessment of the ecclesia, and to decide whether the ecclesia should continue or fail, or be rejected, is something that's always out there. Right here again, this is Smyrna. Now this one is a little bit more disguised, but he basically said, be faithful unto death, and I will give you the crown of life. In other words, I will come to you and give you a crown of life. So it has this idea of a visit from Christ. And here it says, I am coming to you quickly in Pergamum. I'm coming to you quickly. I will make war against them. Well, that implies that this isn't about, I'm coming to you, when you're already dead, in that the final day. It's more like, I'm coming to you quickly while you're still gathering, and I'm going to make war against them with the sword of my mouth. Okay. And what does that exactly mean? It could be just somebody that stands up and just, and is given the words to say to tear up all of their hypocrisy and condemn them, and as a prophet would, and just basically call an end to the gathering because a termination because of how unfaithful the gathering has been. I don't really know. I mean, it's hard to really know, but it does seem to say, I'm coming to you while you're still gathering. This isn't like I'm coming to you, at the final day, or when I return, I will visit you, and I will. That doesn't seem what's being said here. It's even clearer in the next message. It says, I will throw her. This is the one they were tolerating, Jezebel and Thyatira. And this is kind of an important one, that we're going to talk about this more, because I believe that Luke 12 has to do with this one too. But notice how he says, I will throw her on a bed of sickness. And it's, the Greek says, I will throw her on a bed, but the way that is phrased, the way it's used, it's always used that way in the Greek as kind of an idiom, where it means you're going to get sick. You're going to get very sick. Okay. And we're going to talk about that. And I will kill her children with pestilence. And the ekklesiai will know that I am he who searches the minds and hearts. So this is kind of real time while the ekklesia is gathering. This is something that it happens when he is the high priest of an ekklesia. When someone is in the presence of Christ, when a gathering is in the presence of Christ, Christ will visit that gathering. And we're going to see that in 1 Corinthians 11, where Christ visits the gathering and people actually die, right? And there's people dying, people getting sick, and there's things happening to the ekklesia in real time while they're gathering, as Christ, Christ is required to intervene, because they're not self-correcting. They're not judging themselves properly. So Christ is required to intervene, and people actually are dying and getting sick and things like that. And Paul mentions that in 1 Corinthians 11. So this actually does happen, and it's something that when we see it in the parables, it's not necessarily the second return. We're talking about Christ intervening. And of course, again, we're talking about an ecclesia of God now. We're talking about an ecclesia that's already been accepted by God. The lampstand is in the presence of Christ, and all of that. So, which is going to rule out any ecclesia I know, any gathering I know today. But, in that day, there were quite a few of them. And so this is kind of, in Sardis, he says, I will come like a thief. And we'll talk about that more. And notice how he says, wake up, strengthen the things that remain. You have a reputation of being alive, but you're dead. You need to wake up. Okay. This idea of sleeping and being dead, and being deceived there, or even being, led astray into this, into some sort of, corruption, whether it be teachers of Balaam or the Jezebel thing or whatever it might be. It's this idea of just not being alert. When you're alert, it means that you're alive to Christ. It means that you've got your lamps lit. It means that when he says to be alert, it means that you're connecting with the Spirit. You are aware of the deceptions. You're not falling for those tricks and those gimmicks and those games, and you're alert in that respect. So he says, I will come like a thief. Here in Philadelphia, I am coming quickly. Hold fast what you have. This one in Laodicea, I will spit you out of my mouth. Okay. It's one of those things where, I'm not even going to, it's almost as though he's saying, I'm not going to even, reprove you. I'm not going to discipline you. Notice he never says I'm coming to make war, or I'm going to punish people, or I'm going to do anything, or come in like a thief. He didn't say anything on this one. He says, I will spit you out of my mouth. It's almost like this lukewarm stuff. It's just not someone that he even wants to reprove. It's kind of an interesting, it doesn't mean that he won't. It does, because a lot of these things occur. A lot of the things that they describe in other ecclesia doesn't mean that they can't happen in all the other ecclesia. In other words, when they take away the lampstand in Ephesus, you're going to take away the lampstand in Laodicea. You're going to take away the lampstand in Thyatira. So it's not like the things that he describes in one ecclesia only applies to that ecclesia. That's not true either. So it's just interesting how he doesn't really talk about what he's going to do to them. But spitting you out of the mouth, I'm sure that's going to have some sort of visible consequence. Someone's going to know something, or they should know. I just wanted to, I wanted to see this in the messages to the ekklesiai, how he's always talking about coming and visiting while they're gathering. It's that kind of idea. It's not, it's kind of real time. And like I said, this happens, in 1 Corinthians 11, he actually, that's a real account of God visiting an ecclesia while they're gathering. So when it says, be ready, keep your lamps lit, just like in Philadelphia, I'm coming quickly. I think that this type of scenario here, where you're like, man, you're alert, you've got your lamps lit, you're going to open the door as soon as Christ comes. I think this type of scenario is better understood as an ecclesia like Smyrna or Philadelphia. This kind of describes that kind of a successful ecclesia that are alert when Christ does come and assesses and makes a judgment on the ecclesia. It seems like that fits better the way I see it right now. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Doesn't mean I can't change. never set in stone, but that, in looking at the whole context it does seem to flow better, using that understanding, that perspective. Here, 39 and 40, I kind of said I kind of hold off on that and to get a better idea. I think I understand it more now about what's going on, again, because we're in an ekklesia context here. We're in a context where there's already an ekklesia ongoing. And I think my first inclination that this was like Sardis, I think that was right. I think when he's talking about this head of the house is kind of like, you've replaced the head. The head has been replaced, and Christ should be the head, but instead, because you're dead, because you're asleep, because you've replaced the head. When Jesus says to Sardis, you have a reputation of being alive, but you're really dead. Well, what do you mean you have a reputation of being alive? Well, how did that happen? Who's calling the shots in that ekklesia in Sardis? Who's running the show? It's not Christ. Christ isn't running the show in Sardis. Okay. So someone must be running the show, and because they're dead to Christ, right? Christ says you're dead. You're like a limp body. I don't really have a use for a limp body. I don't really want to just carry around a dead body, as a head. So I'm not gonna tolerate this much longer. I can just he basically describes some things that are barely alive. There may be some members that still have a connection and still are awake and still are alert, but there's so few of them, and they're just about dead. The way Christ explains it in Sardis, but he's basically saying, I don't have a use for a dead body, because my head is alive, and I don't want a dead body. Now, so since they're dead to Christ, they got to be alive to something, right? Someone's got to be running the show, and so this is what I'm talking about. This is like the head of the house, where someone replaces Christ as the head of the house, and starts calling the shots, and people start following him, replacing your leader. Replacing Christ with a man of the flesh. This is what I'm talking about when Jesus warns people about that. Don't replace Christ with some man of the flesh. All right, Christ is your leader as a gathering. Okay, you look to Christ. You don't look to a pastor. You don't look to to some expert on the Bible. No. You look to Christ. That's how it's supposed to work. That's why this whole church system makes no sense. So you look to Christ because you're an ekklesia. You're a decision-making body, and you're looking to Christ to guide you, for the Spirit to give you the messages from Christ, to help you to understand and to make decisions as a body together, which each one deploying their gifts and together in a synergistic way to find the mind of Christ. I mean, that's what you're doing, because that's what you're looking for. So, this where am I? Oh yeah, this here, the head of the house is I think a replacement for Christ that the gathering has chosen. For whatever reason, they got lazy, or this guy deceived him, or whatever. And he's basically saying, look, when you're the head of the house, and you don't know, if you knew with the hour the thief was coming, he would not have allowed his house to be broken into. Now, that puzzled me for a long time, as far as what does that mean, really? Because the only way you know when Christ is coming is when you're alert, is when you're awake. Okay, that's the only way you know. You have, you're getting a message. You're understanding when he's coming is when you're alert. So when a gathering is dead, the gathering is not going to know when Christ is coming, but Christ will come. Okay, and that's why Christ says, "I will come like a thief." all right, in Sardis. You're dead. I mean, maybe it's good to maybe just look at it real quick. Let's go past it. So when he says, you have a reputation of being alive, but you're dead, and he tells him to wake up. Get out of your deception. Get out of this fog you're in. Stop replacing the spirit with a man of the flesh. Stop replacing your leader, Christ, with a man of the flesh, and wake up. Start tuning in to the Spirit, your real teacher. Start tuning in to Christ, your real leader. So this is what he means by wake up. Stop being deceived. Stop being led astray by, a smooth talker or a Jezebel or, your own delusion of grandeur, or your confidence in your understanding of Scripture, so that you lose your first love. You need to wake up, and you need to get back in touch with the Spirit and Christ. Strengthen the things that remain. Those few that members that may have yet to die, to fully die, to go to sleep. Says, because these things that remain, which are about to die, for I have not found your deeds completed in the sight of my God. So this is, if you're not doing deeds that you're told to do, no matter how good they look, to the rest of the world, or even to the rest of disciples of Christ or other ekklesia, other gatherings, no matter how good they look to the outside Christians, outside followers, professed believers, even them, no matter how good your deeds look to them and how good your reputation is with them, that's not what's important. What's important is how good you look to me. Are you doing what I tell you to do? That's what getting treasures in heaven is, doing what Christ tells you to do, not what looks good to man, not even what looks good to your Christian friends. See, that's not gaining treasures in heaven. You're supposed to be being obedient to what Christ is telling you to do. That's gaining treasures in heaven. And you have to do that without fear. Okay? So, this is what is important, in Sardis to understand. I haven't found your deeds completed, because you're not doing what I tell you to do. You're doing what you think looks good and what you think is helpful and what you think is loving and what you think is helping society or your community. Okay. But I'm not telling you to do those things. So they're not complete. They're not quite there. They fall short. In other words, they fall short. Even when on the outside, it looks like you're doing awesome. Looks like you're doing great. You're helping the community. You're visiting prisoners. You're feeding the poor. You're helping widows. You're doing so many good things, spreading the gospel. But if you're not doing the things that Christ is telling you to do, those deeds are incomplete. They're just not. They don't really count as heavenly riches. You see what I'm saying? And that's a hard thing to understand, because we're not used to taking orders from Christ. We're not used to hearing his, what he's telling us to do. And that's where you have to be. So he says, look, remember what you have received. Remember the way you started. You started this whole thing by the Spirit. You had your inauguration, you had your Pentecostal moment, and it was all about the Spirit. Okay? So why are you replacing the Spirit with some guy that talks really well and is very entertaining? and you can you just love the way he talks, and and you love what he says, and it's so interesting and so inspiring, and you're all like, yeah, this is awesome. We're gonna really help, and we're on our way. We're doing such good stuff, like a pep rally, and you're just all for it. Motivational speaker getting up there, and he's going, no, that's not how you started. that's not what got you in the presence of Christ. That's not what got you into my presence. That's not what made you a temple of God. Okay? So you need to connect back to where you were to understand what got you here. Okay? Stick with that. Remember what you have received and heard, and keep it and repent. All right? So go back and preserve where you're getting your instructions, where you're getting your direction. Okay? Go back to the source, the Spirit, as the Spirit gives messages from Christ. Go back there and keep that. Preserve that. Keep doing it that way. Stop replacing me and doing it your own way. That's not how it goes. But if you don't wake up, I will come in like a thief. And why will he come in like a thief? Because there's no one there to open the door. There's not going to be anyone there to open the door. Like in the first one, where the people they have their lamps lit and they're ready, and the master comes and they're ready to open the door. Come on in. They're ready to receive him when he comes. But there's not going to be anyone opening the door at Sardis because they're not hearing him. It's been a disconnect, static. There's nothing going on. All right. They've already replaced that. So that's kind of a problem. When there's no one there to open the door, what's he going to have to do? He's going to have to break it down like a thief. You see what I'm saying? So that's why, I think it says, I will come in like a thief. Because you're not hearing me. You're not connecting. So when I come, there's no one going to be there. No one's going to open the door. I'm going to break it down. Okay? That's what's going to go on. And you're not going to know when I come. You're not going to know. If you knew, you'd wake up and you'd turn on the lamps and you'd be ready. But you're not going to know because you're not listening. So how are you going to know? And I'm going to come in when you don't expect it. Okay? Believe me, you will never guess it. I'll make sure of that, is what Christ is saying. I'll make sure of that. You will not know when I come. All right? Don't even think about it. You're not going to be able to anticipate. It's not like you know how some people think, oh, I'll get my act together later. I'll start, pursuing God when I've kind of had my fun, or when I've, done my thing, or when I've achieved my goals. Then I'll start getting serious. All right. I'm sure you've heard that before, or at least people think that. They may not say it out loud, but they think that. That doesn't really work, because he's going to come at a time that you don't expect. I mean, when you think you have time, you don't. So, and that kind of message, that kind of warning is, that's stated many, many times. In fact, we just went over that, how the guy stored his grain and he thought he was going to retire and take it easy. And then all of a sudden, you fool, your soul's going to be required tonight. So this whole idea that, that you're going to, that you're going to be able to anticipate when he's coming, and then you're going to wake up and turn your lights on and be ready. You're not. Okay. That in fact, that's almost that's certain that's not going to happen. He'll make sure of it. Okay. So if the guy knew, if the head of the house knew when the thief was coming, then he would, prevent the guy from breaking in. Maybe he'll just open the door. You don't have to break in. You don't have to break in like a thief. Here it is. Right. But he's not going to know is the point of that parable. He's not going to know. and the Son of Man is going to come in. What does it say? He would not have allowed his house to be broken into if he knew, but he's not going to know. And so you too be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. And that's not a that's not a belief or like a, you probably won't expect it. It's not, he's not saying it like that. He's saying it like you definitely will not expect it. Okay? You will not. I guarantee you, you will not expect it. So trying to time it right is a foolish game, because he's basically telling you, I will make sure that you will not time it right. You will fail if that's your game plan. That you will lose. He's telling you right there. He's telling you right there. The Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. That's not a probability. That's a fact. Okay? Okay. So that's what Sardis is about. And I believe, again, that's this idea of these people that become an ecclesia of God, and then they just decide to replace, just change it all up and replace the Spirit, replace Christ with these dynamic speakers, or these charismatic leaders, or whatever, or some team that they just think are cool. A lot of times the Judaizers, the circumcision party would come in and replace Christ, replace the Spirit with their form of godliness, their ways of what to do. Okay? And the Ekklesia stops living free, and they enslave themselves, because it's easier to be a slave. You don't have to make decisions. All right? You just let someone else make the decisions for you. It's like going back. It's like never wanting to grow up. You're a child, and you it's time to grow up. It's time to make decisions. You go, I don't want to. I want to stay like a child. I want to stay, playing with my toys and being told what to do. I don't have to agonize over these decisions. No, I'll never be mature. I'll never be worth anything. How are you going to be a servant leader, which is your destiny, if you stay as a child? If you never learn these things, you never train. That doesn't work. That's not how God works. Okay? If you're going to be on his team, if you're going to be one of the members of the Grand Ekklesia, you've got to show yourself that you're one of his. And his sons, his people, they're awake and they're working hard. That's what they look like. Okay. So the next one, oh wow, I can't believe it. Okay. So the next one here is about, what I told you I'd think about this some more. And this is a harder one, because it's about, this gathering, and there's someone put in charge, and that someone decides to just start messing around and doing his own thing, and abusing the others in his charge. And then again, the master is going to come on a day when he does not expect him. It's not that, again, that's not a good guess or, likelihood. That's a fact that's going to happen. An hour he does not know, and will cut him to pieces and assign him a place with the unbelievers. And then it talks about this other slave that knew his master's will and did not get ready or act in accordance with the will. Okay. And he's going to receive many lashes. And then there's this other tier that says the guy that was ignorant, committed deeds worthy of flogging, he will receive but few. Okay. And then it talks about this idea where those who are entrusted by, the servants, when it says they entrusted themselves much to, how do I put it? Okay. The best, when I'm looking at the Greek, because this is in the middle voice. This is in the middle voice right here. And so it says, and to whom they entrusted themselves much. Okay, that's how you would literally read it in the Greek. Who's they? They are I can't think of anything else but the servants that are being handled. They're called domestics, and if you looked at the Greek word, they're like domestics. They're like those that kind of need instructions. The way I see it is those that are kind of new in the faith. They're kind of new in the faith. They don't really know what's really going on, and you have yet to be trained. They have yet to get up to speed, and so they entrust themselves to those to certain ones that exalt themselves as experts, or exalt themselves as leaders, okay, as those that they should follow, and so that's the way I'm reading it here. To whom they entrust themselves much. So it's these domestics, these ones that need guidance, and then those that are stepping up and say, "Oh, okay, you need guidance? Well, follow me. I'll tell you what to do." And so those kind of people. Those guides, those leaders that step up and want to be a leader, from those leaders will be expected a lot. I mean, first of all, they're going to be relied on. They're going to rely on these people to show them what to do. And it says, from everyone who has been given much, much will be required. Okay. And because there's going to be so many of these domestics, these kind of new infants in Christ, I think is what he's talking about, are going to be looking to these leaders for guidance. If these leaders lead them astray, there's going to be some real problems. I mean, Christ will not tolerate that. I mean, that's the whole point when it talks about when he's basically saying, where am I committed to? These ones that did not know it, they're ignorant because they're not up to speed, and they commit deeds worthy of flogging. They will receive, but few lashes. Okay. So let's okay. So let me look at the. Let me go back. Let me go back to Revelation 3 and look at. I don't want to go to 3. I want to go to Thyatira. So let's go to Thyatira and look at this real quick. So we looked at, okay, so you saw how that was laid out. You had the one that you had the one that was taking charge of the servants and decided, I'm just going to do whatever I want to do because the master's delaying. So I'm going to go ahead and abuse these servants. I'm going to have some fun and eat, drink, and maybe profit at their expense, and that kind of stuff. I think that's what Jezebel was doing in this message here to Thyatira. She was calling herself a prophetess. She was setting herself up as someone that could be relied on, as someone that you could follow. And so I think a lot of the infants in Christ, the ones that were kind of, still trying to get their head around what was going on, they were following her because she claimed to be speaking for God. So unfortunately, they were following her rather than the Spirit, rather than Christ, because no one really trained them how to do that, how to make that happen. So she says, no, you don't have to worry about that. I got this. I'm speaking for God. I'll be your substitute. Listen to me. Okay? I'll tell you what to do. I'll tell you how this thing works. I'll tell you what godliness looks like. Just listen to me, and I'll tell you exactly what's going on. So she's teaching and leading the bondservants astray. All right? I think she is like that, like that parable we were just looking at in Luke 12. The one that says, oh, the master's not going to come for a while. I'm just going to go ahead and have some fun. I'm going to go ahead and abuse these people and maybe take advantage and get something off them. So she's teaching them all this crazy stuff so that these infants in Christ are committing acts of immorality and eating things sacrificed to idols. Okay. I gave her time to repent. She doesn't want to repent of her immorality. And so what does Christ say? I will throw her on a bed of sickness. Now, in the parable we looked at, it says, I will cut him into two and put him with the unbelievers. I think this bed of sickness is a really, I think it's got to be something very horrible. It's got to be something just brutal. I mean, a nightmare type of sickness that just eats away at the flesh, or something horrible, horrible, horrible. Because when it says cut him in two, if you look at the Greek on that, it means it's a severe flogging. I mean, really, really bad, like intense flogging. So this bed of sickness isn't the flu, all right? I think this is something that is slow and painful, okay? So that this woman is being basically just being punished severely. Okay. That's what I really think that this bed of sickness is. All right. And those that commit adultery with her. Now, these are the infants. These were the ones that were deceived, because it says, let's see. You tolerate this, who calls her, and she teaches and leads my astray, so they commit and she doesn't want to, and she, behold, I will throw, and those that committed in great tribulation unless they repent. All right, so I thought there was something, okay, I thought there was something there that talked about deception. I think what I saw was, leads my bondservants astray. I think that idea of leading them astray is a deceptive kind of a understanding, where there's a deception going on. So she's claiming to speak for God, and she's teaching these infants, these bondservants, these infants in Christ, to actually be disobedient against the law of God, and so she's paying for it. She's being thrown into a bed of sickness. But the ones that actually were deceived, the ones that commit adultery with her, they only get a great tribulation, and they get the opportunity to repent of her deeds. You see, that's the little lashes. That's the few lashes. Okay, those that didn't know. All right. They didn't know, and they got caught up into it. They will be given a few lashes. So I think that's what this group is here. Those that commit adultery with her, they get a great tribulation unless they repent of her deeds. So they have an opportunity to repent and become whole again. Okay. And here's the third class of people, and I will kill her children with pestilence. So who are her children? Her children, in my view, I mean, it could be her real children. I mean, it's possible. or it could be symbolic about those that were playing along. They didn't come up with the idea. It's not like it was their plot, their little plan, but it was certainly, they were going along with it and they knew it was wrong. They knew that this was wrong. They knew this was not the way to treat these infants in Christ. And this was disobedient. You know, they knew the thought, they knew Christ's will, but they just didn't act. Okay? They didn't want to confront Jezebel. They didn't want to have that confrontation. So they just allowed it to happen. They tolerated it. They knew it was wrong, but they went along with it. Okay? That was that other, remember we talked about Luke 12. Okay, so Luke 12, it's those slaves who knew the master's will but did not get ready. They didn't do any proactive actions to enforce the will of Christ, to impose the will of Christ, to stand up for the will of Christ, or anything like that. They knew, but they didn't act in accordance with his will. Instead, they just tolerated it and let it happen. Okay, I think those are the ones that are going to be killed with pestilence, not fun. All right, but they will be killed. But it's better to be killed than to be thrown into this bed of agony, the way I see it. So you have 3 tiers right here in Thyatira of people being dealt with by Christ. You have one that's being thrown into a bed of agony, the one that was, the planner, the instigator, the initiator of all of this evil and this deception, and picking, trying to lead these bond servants that didn't have, they were still young in Christ. They didn't really understand everything that was going on. They weren't mature yet. They needed guidance. So she steps up and leads them astray. They have that one. Then they have those that were led astray. Okay, they get a chance to repent, but they're still punished, but they get a chance to repent. Okay, and then you have the ones that were going along with it, the ones that tolerated it but knew better. All right, those were killed. That's the many lashes. All right, so you have the 3 tiers right here in Thyatira. So I think that is what is happening here. Now she is going to be with the unbelievers. No question about it. She's done. The ones that are killed, it's not really clear. Christ doesn't really say necessarily what's going to happen with them. So I'm not going to guess whether they're going to be thrown with the, whether they're going to be thrown with the unbelievers or not. They were taken out, but it's unclear where that's going. And they very well could be thrown with the unbelievers. I don't know. And maybe some will and some won't, for all I know. But I wouldn't want to be in their shoes, right? And then there's the ones that fell for the trick, the scam. They weren't alert. And they're going to be punished, but they have an opportunity to repent and to recover. So that's what I think is going on in that parable. And that makes a lot more sense to me. So in essence, you have just in this little thing right here, you have Smyrna and Philadelphia kind of talked about in 35 through 38. You have Sardis talked about in 39 and 40, and you have Thyatira talked about in 41 through 47, which I think is really interesting. And it makes me curious to see if he ever describes Ephesus or Laodicea or let's see, Pergamum. Yeah. The Balaam one. And a lot of that, I'm not saying that, that they're described somewhere else, but it's just, it's just things that you think about. So that's kind of what I wanted I wanted to go over that, because I went over that last time and I wasn't real clear on it. So I went back and thought about it some more, and that's kind of what I came up with. Okay. And it makes sense to me. It does flow. It does work. It fits the context of kind of a steady flow going down. And so I think that might be, for right now, that's where I am with those. I do also want to, well, I don't know if I want to talk about that. Well, actually, I'm running out of time, so I need to move on. I was going to look at Luke 21 and 34 through 36. This is just another spot where he talks about, about being alert. He says, be on guard so that your hearts may not be weighted down with dissipation and drunkenness and the worries of life. It's the whole idea of, don't get distracted about the here and now, about worrying about the here and now, about putting your time in the here and now. Okay. You have to do certain minimum things, but you want to minimize your time dealing with, your food, your clothes, your dwelling. Those should be kept at a minimum, and your vacations and your hobbies, all of that should be kept at a very, very minimum. I mean, that's only like out of necessity that you spend your time with that entertainment. Okay. He's saying, don't get involved like that. Don't get distracted that way. Don't get thrown off course with those kinds of stuff, because you're not living for the here and now. You have to remember that. Do not live for the here and now. Instead, you got to take that time that you save by not living for the here and now. You take that time and you spend it by living for the hereafter. And you're collecting those heavenly treasures. Okay. That's what you want to do. You want to ponder the scripture. You want to learn how to work with the Greek and learn, be a good, competent student about. That's where you want to put your time. Because it's all about this ekklesia of God. It's always about preparing yourself and trying to promote it and trying to understand it and be where the Spirit is, because that's where the Spirit is. That's what the Spirit is, passion. And then we're 2,000 years into this. There's not a lot of time left. I mean, I just get this feeling of urgency that there really isn't a lot of time left. I mean, we're pretty long in the tooth on this age. Okay. So the fact that we've wasted so many generations with this counterfeit religious system of worship that has basically hurt us bad, really disempowered the saints, the believers, the new covenant believers, just taken all the power away from them, because they're so much more powerful together as a body, as an ekklesia of God. That's where the power is. As individuals, you can only do so much. There's just not a lot. That's why the whole idea of a people of God is so important, and so just an amazing pursuit, right, to have. Because that's really where the Spirit of God is hyperactive. That's where Christ is your head in your gathering. He can still be the head of your life. I mean, that's all true. But as a gathering, it just takes it to a whole nother level. Everything just goes up like about 50 notches. Okay, when you're in that situation. As long as you stay faithful, as long as you persevere, keep your lamps lit as a gathering, you can do some amazing things. Have some real eternal impact. Okay. And that's your true worship. We've talked about that in Romans 12:1. But it says here, be on guard. In other words, be alert, wake up, get away from those deceptions, get away from the tricks of Satan, get away from all of those gimmicks, okay? Make sure that you're not getting caught up in longing to pursue worldly ambitions, which is what the church system allows you to do. All right? It allows for that, encourages that, really, because that's how they're funded, is by your success in the world, right? So get away from that. Be on guard. Don't get sucked into that. Don't allow yourself to want those worldly treasures that are temporary and can be stolen and can be eaten by moths, and they're not real because they don't last. Don't let your desire for those take you away from your real mission, from what you really need to do, from gathering wealth, heavenly wealth, eternal gold. Kingdom, valuable things in the kingdom, where the king, things of value for the kingdom, right? That's where you should be gathering. That's the treasure you should be hoarding for yourself. If you want to hoard treasure that's eternal, kingdom treasure. See, that's what he's saying. So this day, and he's talking about when the Son of Man comes in a cloud, and the final day. But again, this doesn't mean only worry about it if you're in that generation where the Lord returns. That's not what he's saying, because if you die, the next thing you're going to be aware of is the Lord's return. So that day is going to come on you just like that. So he's saying you have to worry about gathering heavenly treasures while you're here. Because if you die without those treasures, you're out of luck. I mean, you're out of luck. If you're waiting for the kingdom, if you're waiting for the hereafter, you're not going to have a hereafter, is what I'm saying. Keep on the alert at all times, praying that you may have the strength to escape all these things that are about to take place and to be able to stand before the Son of Man. You have to stand before the Son of Man. All right? And you're going to have to justify your life and what you did, where your heart was. Where was your treasure? Well, I had a great pension. I had a great vacation home. I had a house, a great car, and I paid my kids' college. My kids went through college and I paid their way through that. And, I took care of things, I was very financially responsible. So your treasure is all earthly treasure. Well, that doesn't work here. We don't recognize that. We don't recognize that currency here. So I don't know. What else do you got? So this is what, this is what the questions, this is the examination you are going to face. Okay. You're going to face it, and you will not escape it. So you better have something to say for yourself. You better have something to show. This is my heavenly treasure. This is considered valuable in the kingdom of heaven. This is what I have. This is what I gained on earth that's actually valuable in the kingdom of heaven. Okay? That's what you need to show the Son of Man. All right? So anyway, it's that whole idea. Understand it. Have that perspective. Always have that perspective. Understand you can go at any time. Always be gathering heavenly treasures, so that you'll have things to take with you. That's the only thing that you can take with you are your heavenly treasures. You realize that, right? That's it. All your earthly stuff, all the things that you have are laying around, you can't take any of that. The only thing you can take with you are the treasures, the heavenly treasures that you have stored for yourself while on earth. That's what you can take with you, and that's all you can take with you. Just understand that, okay? So use your time building those kind of treasures, accumulating that kind of wealth, and you'll be much better off. If we go to Mark 13, I wanted to look at that too. So I don't think I did anything with this, but this is just another, I just wanted to show some more places in the Gospels, because I said, look, it's everywhere. Take heed, keep on the alert, for you do not know when the appointed time will come. It is like a man away on a journey who, upon leaving his house and putting his slaves in charge, assigning each one to his task, also commanded the doorkeeper to stay on the alert. Therefore, be on the alert, for you do not know when the master of the house is coming, whether in the evening, at midnight, or the rooster crows, in case he should come suddenly and find you asleep. What I say to you, because he's right here, he's talking to just his, he's talking to Peter, James, and John, and Andrew, the four of them, privately. Okay. So he says, what I say to you, I say to all, be on the alert. Okay, again, this looks like an ekklesia type of situation, talking about a house, master of the house, things like that. It's coming back. So every ekklesia of God is a house of God, right? And the master of the house is Christ. So it seems like that's what we're talking about here. And he leaves his slaves in charge, assigning each one his task. That has allusions toward the body of Christ, where every member of the ekklesia has a role in the body, and they are to work together synergistically and cooperatively to express the person of Christ. That's how it's supposed to work. And you always are supposed to be alert. You're always supposed to have that mindset. Where do you get your instructions? You get your instructions from Christ. What are you supposed to be doing? You're supposed to be doing what the master of the house is telling you to do. Okay. So this being alert, always being in touch with the Spirit, and being focused on that, so that you'll understand when the master's coming. You'll be there. You'll know. You'll have your lamps lit. You're always there. You're always awake. When you're asleep, that's bad. That means you've fallen into some trap. You've fallen into some sin or some delusion or some deception, or whatever you've done, but it's not a good thing. So this is what this is, again, another place where Christ is talking about, stay alert, wake up, get out of your deception, stop replacing the Spirit and Christ with someone else. So there's another thing. Now, I'm kind of going long, and I haven't quite finished what I want to talk about. So what I'm going to do, I guess I'll have to stop it here and have enough. Wow. And finish with the next episode. But I do want to go through some of the some other aspects of the same. It's kind of like the same. There's the same theme, but in a little bit more. I don't know. Little bit more explanation about how this might work. These are things I want to talk about before I leave Revelation, and so I hope that again it's getting through as far as what the real message is, and I do feel that we're really at the end, the last of the last days. This may be the last chance, in a generation that we're going to have to wake up, to start changing the course of the believers, and understanding that there is a real ecclesia of God that we have to pay attention to, and we have to start focusing in on that. So until the next episode, may His grace and peace be with you, and may He richly bless you with kingdom eyes, kingdom ears, that you can hear the word of God, and that you will follow the word of God. And thanks for watching.